What happened will shock you. I never believed love could feel like a cage until the day I met him. But the strangest part? Even when I wanted to run, my heart wouldn't let me. They call it fate. I call it danger. The first time I saw Raphael, it wasn't romantic. It was terrifying. He wasn't like the men who smiled politely and spoke kindly. His eyes were sharp, like they saw through every layer I tried to hide. And when he saved me from falling that night, it wasn't out of kindness. It was as if he claimed me in front of the whole world. "You're mine," he whispered, though we hadn't exchanged more than a glance before. I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, but his face stayed serious. His hand never left mine, holding me too tightly. That was the first time I felt the weight of his obsession. I should have pulled away. I should have walked off. But something about him, the storm in his eyes, the way his voice carried danger and safety all at once, froze me. I didn't know then how far it would go, how much his obsession would cost me. Days passed and he was everywhere. At the cafe where I worked, leaning against the counter with a smirk. On the street outside my apartment, pretending it was coincidence. At the bookstore where I escaped for silence, waiting in the aisle I loved most. "Do you follow me everywhere?" I asked one evening, trying to sound bold. "Yes," Raphael said without hesitation. "And I won't stop. You belong to me even if you don't know it yet." I should have screamed. I should have told someone. But instead I felt my pulse quicken. No man had ever looked at me like that, not with love, but with hunger, with need, with something darker than both. The truth? A part of me liked it. That was my first mistake. He started doing things I didn't ask for. Sending flowers to my door, leaving notes with words I couldn't ignore. "You're the cure to the sickness I've lived with. Don't leave me." I didn't understand what he meant. Cure? Sickness? It was only later I would learn how broken Raphael really was, and why he thought I was his prescription. But obsession doesn't come without fire. The first time he saw me talking to another man, a customer at the cafe, his hand gripped my wrist so hard it hurt. "Who was he?" Raphael demanded, voice low and sharp. "He was ordering coffee," I snapped, yanking my hand away. "That's literally my job." His jaw tightened. "Don't talk to him again." "You don't get to control me," I shot back. He stepped closer, his breath brushing my ear. "Then why do you tremble when I touch you? Why do you look at me like you're afraid of losing me already?" I hated him for being right, because no matter how much I told myself I didn't want him, my body betrayed me every time. The worst part? Everyone else thought he was perfect, charming, wealthy, dangerous in a way that made people curious. To them, he was a man in love. To me, he was a storm I couldn't escape. One night, after weeks of silence between us, he appeared outside my apartment again. I almost slammed the door in his face, but his voice stopped me. "Don't shut me out, Alara," he said softly, using my name like it was something precious. "You don't know what happens to me when you're gone. You're not just someone I want. You're the only thing keeping me alive." And that was how it began. The obsession. The possession. The slow, terrifying fall into a love that wasn't really love but felt too powerful to resist. I should have known the jealousy, the misunderstandings, the heartbreak waiting ahead. But in that moment I only heard one truth. Raphael needed me, and I didn't know how to say no. They say obsession fades with time, but Raphael's only grew sharper. Everywhere I turned, his presence followed. Not in the soft way love follows you, like a memory you smile at, but like a shadow that pressed against me even in sunlight. At first I thought it was madness. His words, his intensity, it scared me. Yet slowly, almost against my will, I started to believe them. "You don't get it, Alara," he told me one night when I finally asked him why me. "You're the prescription I was searching for. I've been sick for years. Empty. You're the only one who makes me breathe again." I laughed bitterly. "I'm not a cure, Raphael. I'm just me." His hand brushed my cheek, almost tender, but his eyes burned. "No, you're everything. Without you, I'll go back to the darkness. You don't want to see me there." I shivered at his tone. It wasn't a threat, it was a warning. After that, I noticed how carefully he observed me. Every small detail, my habits, my moods, the way I touched my necklace when I was nervous. He remembered everything. He studied me like I was both his favorite book and his only medicine. It should have felt suffocating, and sometimes it did. But then he'd say something that made my heart twist, like the time he caught me crying after work. Overwhelmed with life. Tell me who hurt you, he said, his voice low, deadly calm. No one, I whispered. I'm just tired. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. Then I'll be your rest. Who says things like that? No one I knew. Raphael did, and against my better judgment, I let him. But obsession is never without chains. I realized it the day my friend Nora showed up at the cafe. We laughed, hugged, talked too loud, the way old friends do. Raphael appeared minutes later, his face carved in stone. Who is she? He asked, pulling me aside like I'd been caught in a crime. My friend, I snapped. Don't do this. His eyes flicked back to Nora, who was scrolling on her phone, oblivious. She doesn't look harmless. I don't trust her. She's been with me since before you, I argued. Not everything is about you. But to Raphael it was. Everything revolved around me and by extension, him. That night he showed up at my door again. He didn't yell. He didn't fight. He simply sat in my living room, silent, staring. What are you doing here? I asked, exhausted. I can't sleep knowing someone else is taking your time, he admitted, his voice low, almost broken. I know it's selfish. I know it's wrong. But I need you. Don't pull away from me, Alara. You're the only reason I'm not falling apart. And for the first time I saw it. The boy behind the obsession. The cracks in his armor. The darkness that stalked him. I realized then why I couldn't leave. Because no matter how much he scared me, no matter how much his jealousy made me ache, a part of me wanted to be the light he begged for. A part of me wanted to be his cure. That night, I let him stay. He fell asleep on the couch, holding my hand so tightly it hurt. His face in sleep was softer, almost peaceful. And I hated myself for the thought that came next. Maybe he really does need me. But deep down, another truth whispered louder. Needing someone that much is dangerous. I should have walked away. Instead, I let him in further. And it was the beginning of a trap I wouldn't escape easily. Should have known Raphael's jealousy would turn into fire. It began with small sparks, questions that sounded like concern, but burned like accusations. Who were you talking to? Why did you smile at him? Why didn't you answer my call the first time? At first, I argued. Then I grew tired. Later, I just stayed quiet, but silence never softened him. It only fed the flames. The night everything shifted, I was leaving the cafe after a long shift. My coworker, Liam, walked me out, carrying a box because my hands were full. We laughed at something silly he said, and that was the exact moment Raphael's car pulled up. The sound of tires screeching against pavement made my heart drop. Raphael was out of the car in seconds, his eyes wild. He grabbed the box from Liam's hands and shoved it at me. Go, he said to Liam, his tone like ice. Liam blinked. I was just helping. Now, Raphael snapped, and his voice carried something that made Liam back away, muttering an awkward goodbye before disappearing into the night. I turned to Raphael, anger bubbling up. What was that? He was helping me. Raphael's jaw clenched so tightly I thought it might break. You were laughing with him. So what? I'm allowed to laugh. I shot back, my voice sharp. Not everything I do is about you, Raphael. He stepped closer, towering, his breath ragged. Everything you do is about me, Alara, don't you get it? I can't stand the thought of another man near you. His words hit me like a chain wrapping tighter around my chest. You're suffocating me, I whispered, my throat thick. Good, he said without hesitation, his eyes burning into mine. If you can't breathe without me, then you'll finally understand how I feel every second you're not with me. For a moment, silence wrapped around us, thick and heavy. The streetlights hummed, the night cold against my skin, but Raphael's grip was fire. And the worst part? My heart betrayed me again. Instead of pulling away, it pounded harder, whispering that maybe his madness was just proof of how much he loved me. But love shouldn't hurt like this. Later that night, I found a note slipped under my door in his handwriting. Forgive me. Jealousy is ugly, but it's only because I see you as mine. Don't make me lose you. I can't survive that. I crumpled the note, tears burning my eyes. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to throw the note away, block his number, slam the door the next time he showed up. But I couldn't. Because when Raphael looked at me like I was air, like I was the cure keeping him alive, my anger cracked. My fear softened, and maybe that was my greatest weakness, wanting to believe that obsession was just another name for love. What I didn't know was that this jealousy was only the beginning. The deeper his feelings grew, the darker his shadows became, and soon they would swallow us both. They say love is supposed to make you feel free. With Raphael, love felt like a mask, beautiful on the outside but heavy and suffocating when I wore it too long. He could be gentle, even tender, in moments that made me question everything. He knew how to make me laugh when I wanted to cry. He memorized my favorite foods, the songs that calmed me, the way I liked my coffee. It was almost perfect. Almost, because behind every smile he gave me was a warning. Behind every kiss was possession. His affection wasn't just love, it was control dressed up as devotion. One evening, he surprised me with dinner on the rooftop of his building. Fairy lights, candles, music, it looked like something out of a dream. For a few hours, I forgot the darkness. We laughed, we danced, we ate. He pulled me close and whispered, "See, I can give you the world if you just stay mine." And I almost believed him. But then my phone buzzed. It was Nora asking if I was safe. I quickly replied, but Raphael noticed. His eyes darkened instantly. "Who's more important?" he asked quietly. "What?" He leaned back in his chair, studying me like a predator. "Her or me?" "Raphael, she's just my friend," I said, my voice soft, trying not to provoke him. He shook his head slowly. "No, she's not just anything. Every second you give to someone else feels like betrayal to me. Don't you understand? When you're with me, I want all of you." The warmth of the evening cracked. The fairy lights felt dimmer, the music distant. I realized then how fragile his mask of love was, how quickly it could slip into madness. "I can't cut off my friends," I whispered, holding my ground. His hand gripped mine tightly, his eyes desperate. "Then promise me this, no one will ever come before me. Not Nora, not anyone. If I'm not first, I'll lose myself, Alara." I stared at him, torn between pity and fear. He was drowning in emotions he couldn't control, and somehow, he expected me to keep him afloat. But love shouldn't feel like a cage, no matter how pretty the cage looks that night. As he kissed me goodnight, his touch soft and lingering, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't falling in love. I was falling into his trap, and the deeper I went, the harder it would be to escape. The breaking point came faster than I ever imagined. It started with a lie. A carefully placed whisper that slid into Raphael's ears and poisoned his mind. I didn't know who planted it, not at first. All I knew was that one evening when I arrived at his place, his eyes were already blazing. "Where were you?" he demanded the moment I stepped through the door. "At work," I replied, confused. "I told you my shift ran late." He laughed bitterly, pacing like a storm about to break. "Don't lie to me." "I saw you, Alara. I saw you with him." My stomach twisted. "With who?" "Liam!" Raphael spat the name like it burned his tongue. "He touched your arm." "You smiled." "Do you think I'm blind?" I froze. I remembered the moment. Liam had reached out to steady me when I stumbled carrying a tray. It was nothing. Completely harmless. But to Raphael it was betrayal. "Raphael," I said carefully, trying to keep my voice calm. "It wasn't what you think. He was just helping me." "Helping you?" he snapped. "Is that what you call it when you lean into another man's touch? Do you enjoy making me look like a fool?" The accusation cut deep. My chest tightened, anger sparking. "You don't trust me. No matter what I do, you'll twist it into something ugly. I can't breathe like this." He stopped pacing and turned toward me, his face pale with fury and desperation. "You don't get it. I can't lose you. I'd rather burn everything than watch you give even a piece of yourself to someone else." For the first time, I saw the true danger in his obsession. It wasn't just jealousy, it was destruction waiting for a match. "You're hurting me," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "And if you keep doing this, you'll lose me anyway." He stepped closer, his voice breaking. "Don't say that. Don't even think it. You're mine, Alara. You always were. You always will be." I shook my head, pulling away from his reach. "Not if this is what love means to you." The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. His eyes glistened, his hands trembling as though he wanted to grab me but knew it would push me further. I left that night, slamming the door behind me. For the first time, I felt more fear than longing. But what I didn't know was that someone was feeding his jealousy, someone who wanted to break us apart. And their lies had only just begun. The misunderstanding had been planted. And like poison, it was already spreading. After the fight with Raphael, something in me shifted. I didn't walk away completely, but I couldn't stay the same either. His accusations, his rage, the way his obsession consumed me, it was all too much. So I began to retreat in quiet ways he didn't notice at first. I answered his calls a little later than before. I stopped telling him every detail of my day. When he showed up at the cafe, I pretended to be busy, hiding my unease behind fake smiles. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. But Raphael felt it. He always did. His obsession wasn't blind, it was sharper than sight. One evening, when I left his apartment earlier than usual, his voice caught me at the door. "You're slipping away from me." I froze, my hand on the doorknob. "I just need space, Raphael." He stepped closer, his voice low, almost trembling. "Space or distance?" "There's a difference. Space means you'll come back. Distance means you're already leaving." I didn't answer. My silence was enough. He clenched his fists, his jaw tight, but he didn't stop me as I walked out. That was the start of my rebellion. Not slamming doors, not shouting matches, but choosing quiet escapes. And in those escapes I found pieces of myself I had buried. I started writing letters. Not to anyone in particular, but to myself. Letters about how it felt to love someone who terrified me. How it felt to want him and fear him at the same time. Letters about the guilt that ate me alive whenever I thought of walking away. I never sent them. I hid them under the floorboard of my room as if my heart itself had a secret drawer Raphael could never find. But secrets have a way of surfacing. One day, Nora came to visit. She noticed the tiredness in my eyes, the way I flinched when my phone buzzed with his name. "Ilara," she said gently. "This isn't love. This is a cage." I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "It's complicated." "Complicated doesn't mean dangerous," she shot back, her eyes sharp. "You can love someone and still know they're wrong for you." Her words cut deep. But I wasn't ready to face them, not yet. Because every time I thought about leaving Raphael, I remembered his broken confessions, his desperate eyes, the way he said I was his cure, and something inside me ached to believe I could heal him. So my rebellion stayed silent. But Raphael grew restless. He started noticing the gaps, the hesitations, the way my laughter with him no longer reached my eyes. "Who have you been talking to?" he asked one night, his voice deceptively calm. "No one," I replied too quickly. His gaze darkened. "You're lying." "I'm not," I insisted, but my heartbeat betrayed me. He stepped closer, his hand brushing my cheek, not gently, but like a claim. "Don't shut me out, Ilara. Don't make me wonder if you're writing secrets I don't get to read." My breath caught. Did he know? Had he somehow seen the letters I hid? I pushed his hand away, forcing a weak smile. "You're imagining things." But in that moment I realized something chilling. Raphael's obsession wasn't just about me being his cure. It was about knowing every corner of me, even the ones I wanted to keep hidden, and he would dig until he uncovered them all. The next day I wrote another letter. This one was shorter, sharper, almost a confession. I don't know if this is love or madness. All I know is I'm losing myself piece by piece. And the scariest part? I don't know if I want to be found. I tucked it away, but fear gnawed at me. What if one day Raphael found these? What if my silent rebellion became the very thing that destroyed us both? Because obsession can survive screams, but it can never survive secrets. And I had more of them now than I ever dared admit. What happened that night will shock you. Because sometimes the truth isn't a rescue, it's a weapon. The air between Raphael and me was no longer just heavy. It was suffocating. His eyes followed me like shadows, his questions cut like glass, and yet, the ache in my chest refused to let me walk away. Love had turned into a battlefield, and I was both the soldier and the captive. That night, the storm broke. We were in his penthouse, silence, stretching like an invisible rope, strangling us. He leaned against the wall, arms folded, his gaze sharp enough to pin me where I stood. "Tell me the truth, Ilara," he said, voice low but trembling with a storm he was barely holding back. My heart pounded. About what? About him, I blinked. "Who?" "Don't play dumb," he snapped, his composure cracking. "I've seen the way you look away when your phone rings, the way you smile when you think I'm not watching." "Who is he?" I froze. There was no him. Only my letters, my silence, my rebellion. But Raphael's jealousy had painted an imaginary rival in his mind. And when Raphael believed something, it became truth to him no matter what I said. "There's no one," I whispered. "Liar." He pushed off the wall, crossing the distance between us in 2 strides. His hand slammed against the wall beside my head, caging me in. You think you can hide from me? That you can give someone else what belongs to me? Fear surged, but so did something else. Anger. You don't own me, Raphael, I snapped, surprising even myself. You can't control who I talk to or what I feel or... He cut me off, his voice breaking. Don't you understand? I'm nothing without you. I can't... His words faltered, his chest heaving as if every breath was a battle. I can't lose you, Ilara. I'd burn the world before I let you go. The confession shook me, not because of its romance, but because of its desperation. He wasn't asking for love, he was demanding possession. And yet part of me wanted to believe that intensity meant I mattered more than anyone else ever could. That being his obsession was better than being forgotten, but I also knew the truth. This wasn't love. It was fire, bright, consuming, and dangerous. Raphael, I whispered, forcing myself to look into his wild eyes. You're pushing me away. This isn't how love survives. For a moment I thought he might break, that he might finally understand. But instead he laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Love doesn't survive, he said bitterly. It consumes. And you're mine until nothing is left. Tears pricked my eyes. Then you'll destroy me. He leaned closer, his breath brushing my lips, his voice a whisper that sent shivers down my spine. Then let me. The words rattled me to my core. Because they weren't just obsession, they were surrender. He wasn't asking me to heal him anymore. He was asking me to let him break me, and I didn't know if I was strong enough to resist. That night I left his apartment shaken. My hands trembled as I unlocked my door, my mind replaying his words again and again. Mine until nothing is left. I thought I could hide from the storm inside me, but when I opened the drawer where I kept my letters, I realized the worst had already happened. The latest letter was gone, the one where I wrote about losing myself. The one where I admitted I wasn't sure if I wanted to be found. Someone had taken it, and I knew exactly who. Raphael. Panic clawed at my chest. If he had read it, if he knew the truth I had hidden even from myself. My phone rang, his name flashing across the screen. My hands shook as I picked it up. Ilara. His voice came calm, too calm. We need to talk, my throat tightened. You read it, a pause. Then his chuckle, low and dark. So you do have secrets. Raphael, I told you not to shut me out, he cut me off. And now I know what you're really afraid of. You don't fear me, Ilara, you fear yourself. You fear how much you want this madness, my knees buckled. He had read not just my words, but my soul. And the scariest part? He wasn't entirely wrong, because a part of me did want it, the fire, the danger, the intensity no one else could give me. A part of me was terrified not of Raphael, but of how much I needed him, even when he scared me. His voice softened, almost tender. You're mine, Ilara, you always will be. Stop pretending you can run from what's already inside you. The line went dead, leaving me trembling in the dark, clutching the phone like it was the only thing keeping me tethered. I should have felt trapped, but what I felt instead was something far more dangerous. I felt seen. And once someone sees the darkest parts of you, it's impossible to hide again. I barely slept after Raphael's call. His words clung to me, circling in my mind like caged birds crashing against invisible walls. You don't fear me. You fear yourself. Maybe he was right. Maybe the scariest part of Raphael wasn't his anger, his jealousy, or his obsession. Maybe it was how much of me responded to it, how much I wanted to be wanted like that. But wanting and surviving were two very different things. The next morning, I tried to breathe, to reset my life into something normal. Coffee, work routine, anything but the storm inside me. Yet the world didn't let me escape, because Raphael was everywhere. When I arrived at the office, my colleagues whispered. Their eyes followed me, curious, cautious. On my desk was a single red rose with no note. No signature, but I didn't need one. It was his way of saying, I see you. I'm always here. I shoved the rose in the trash, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Later that afternoon, as I stepped outside for air, a sleek black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, and Raphael leaned forward, his gaze locked on mine like a predator catching sight of its prey. Get in, he said. I shook my head. No, his jaw tightened. Ilara. I said no. The silence between us stretched, the street noise fading into the background. Then he smiled, slow, dangerous, certain. You'll come, he whispered. Because you don't know how not to. The car pulled away, leaving me with my pulse racing and my heart tangled in knots I couldn't untie. That night I tried to distract myself, but my phone buzzed again. A picture, it was me, standing outside the coffee shop that morning holding my cup, staring into the street. He was watching me. I called him, my voice sharp with anger. "Stop following me." His reply was soft, almost tender. "I'm not following. I'm protecting." "There's a difference, and from what?" "From yourself," he said. Then, after a pause, "And from anyone else who thinks they can touch what's mine." I froze. His words weren't empty, they were a warning. And part of me wondered just how far Raphael would go if he believed someone else was close to me. The answer came faster than I expected. A few days later, Luca, a colleague from work, offered to walk me home after a late project. He was kind, harmless, the type of man who smiled easily and never asked for more than conversation. But Raphael saw us. He was waiting by the corner, his figure emerging from the shadows as Luca and I reached my building. "Ilara," Raphael said, his tone deceptively calm. "Introduce us." Luca stiffened. "And you are?" "Her future," Raphael replied without hesitation, his eyes locked on mine, not him. I swallowed hard. "Raphael, this is Luca, my colleague." But Raphael wasn't listening. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, his hand brushing possessively against mine. "Colleague," he repeated slowly, like the word itself was poison. Luca cleared his throat. "I should go." Raphael didn't take his eyes off me until Luca disappeared down the street. Then he turned, his face carved with something sharp, something dangerous. "Do you want me to lose control?" he asked, voice raw. "Because I will. I'll destroy anything that touches you. Don't make me prove it." I wanted to scream at him to push him away, but the truth burned on my tongue. I was terrified, not of what he might do to others, but of how much of me wanted him to fight for me like that. It was twisted. It was wrong. And yet it was real. "Raphael," I whispered, my voice breaking, "you can't keep doing this." His hand cupped my cheek, his thumb brushing away the tear I hadn't realized had fallen. His eyes softened, but his grip was firm, grounding, claiming. "I can't stop," he murmured. "You're not just mine, Ilara. You're the only thing that keeps me breathing. Don't ask me to let go. I'd rather die." The words should have frightened me more than they did, but instead they sank deep, wrapping around my heart like chains I didn't know if I wanted broken. That night, lying awake, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't just Raphael who was obsessed, it was me too, because even when his love felt like fire against my skin, I kept stepping closer. Even when his jealousy burned bridges around me, I let him hold the match. And the price of obsession? It was me. Days blurred into nights and nights bled into mornings. Raphael was everywhere. In the corners of my thoughts, in the shadows of the streets, in the beating of my heart that no longer felt like mine. I told myself I could handle it. That if I stayed calm, if I kept him balanced, maybe I could survive his storm. But storms don't ask for permission to destroy. And Raphael's storm was only getting stronger. It happened one Friday evening. I had stayed late at the office, the city lights glowing outside my window. Luca, ever kind, offered me a ride home again. I hesitated, already sensing the danger, but exhaustion won. We didn't even make it halfway before the world turned into a nightmare. Raphael's car cut us off, screeching to a halt in front of us. Luca slammed the brakes, his arm instinctively reaching out to steady me. But before I could react, Raphael was there, yanking open my door, fury burning in his eyes. "Get out," he ordered. "Raphael, stop," I shouted, but his hand was already gripping my wrist, pulling me into the night air. Luca stepped out, his voice sharp. "Hey, you can't just—" Raphael's glare silenced him.
"Stay out of this."
"She's not yours. She's not an object." Luca fired back. I thought Raphael would hit him. The tension snapped so sharp I could barely breathe. But instead, Raphael dragged me to his car, shoving me inside before I could protest. The door slammed. The locks clicked. And just like that, I was trapped. "Raphael, don't," he snapped, his hands gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His chest heaved, his breath harsh and ragged. "Don't say a word right now, because if you do, I don't know what I'll do." I swallowed my fear. "You can't keep doing this. You can't, don't tell me what I can't do," he roared, slamming his fist against the steering wheel. The sound cracked through the car, making me flinch. His voice dropped to a whisper, trembling with something darker than anger. Do you have any idea what it does to me? Seeing you with him, watching you smile at him? You're mine, Elara, mine. Tears blurred my vision. And what about me, Raphael? What about what I want? Did you ever think of that? His eyes snapped to mine, wild and broken. You do want this. You want me. You just don't want to admit it. You write it in your letters, you bleed it in your silence, you crave me the way I crave you. I shook my head. No, I want love, Raphael. Not prison. Something inside him cracked. His head dropped forward, his shoulders shaking. For a terrifying moment, I thought he might completely lose control. Then softly he whispered, Then why can't you leave me? The question stabbed deep because I didn't have an answer. Why couldn't I? Why did I still feel the pull of his gravity even when it hurt, even when it burned? Why did the thought of walking away feel more impossible than staying? I don't know, I admitted, my voice breaking. His head lifted, his eyes glistening with something raw. Because you're mine. Whether you admit it or not, silence filled the car, thick and suffocating. I wanted to scream, to run, to claw my way out of the trap we had built around each other. But instead I sat there, trembling, drowning in the truth neither of us wanted to face. When he finally drove, the city blurred around us. He didn't speak, and neither did I. By the time we reached his apartment, my body was exhausted from the weight of words unspoken. Inside, he paced like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair. I don't want to be this way, he muttered more to himself than to me. But you make me crazy. I see you, and I lose every piece of control I've ever had. Raphael. I started, but my voice faltered. He turned sharply, his gaze pinning me. Do you hate me? The question caught me off guard. Hate him? No. Hate the way he loved me? Maybe. Hate the way I kept falling into it over and over, even knowing it was dangerous? Definitely. I don't hate you, I whispered. But I hate this. For the first time, his face crumbled. His jaw trembled, his eyes shone, and for a fleeting second he looked less like a man in control and more like a boy terrified of losing everything. Then help me, he whispered. Don't walk away. Don't leave me in the dark. Help me be the man you want instead of the monster I've become. My heart ached. My mind screamed to run. But my soul, my reckless, desperate soul, leaned closer. Because what if I could? What if I could turn his obsession into something softer? Something real? What if I could fix him? It was dangerous. It was foolish. But it was also the truth, and in that moment, I realized something terrifying. The breaking point wasn't him, it was me, because I wasn't sure I wanted to be free anymore. Raphael's words echoed in my head for days. Help me be the man you want instead of the monster I've become. It should have been hope. It should have been the turning point. But with Raphael, nothing was ever simple. His obsession didn't vanish, it changed shape. The fire that once raged openly began to smolder quietly, hidden beneath smiles that didn't quite reach his eyes. He stopped showing up outside my office, stopped sending pictures, stopped demanding explanations. For a moment I thought maybe we had found balance. Maybe my choice to stay to try was enough. But the calm was worse than the storm, because silence with Raphael was never peace. It was the sound of a volcano before it erupted. The night it happened, I was at his apartment. He had cooked dinner. His movements almost gentle, his laughter softer, like he was trying to show me he could be different. For a fleeting hour, I let myself believe it, until my phone buzzed. A message from Luca. Are you okay? Haven't seen you at work lately. Just checking in, I didn't reply, but Raphael saw it. His eyes darkened, the knife in his hand pausing mid-slice. Elara, he said slowly, carefully.
Why is he still in your life?
I froze. He's just being polite. He's worried. Worried? His laugh was sharp, bitter. Worried or waiting? Tell me the truth, did you ever want him? No, my voice cracked. Raphael, it's not like that. It's never been like that. But the storm had already returned. His control snapped, the quiet mask torn away. He slammed the knife down, his chest heaving. Then block him. Now. My hands trembled as I picked up my phone. I knew he wouldn't calm down until I did. So I blocked Luca. The final thread of a life outside Raphael's world cut clean. There, I whispered. He watched me, his chest rising and falling like he'd just won a war. Then slowly he reached out, cupping my face. His thumb traced my cheek, tender, almost reverent. You see? He murmured. It's only us. It always has been. Tears filled my eyes. because in that moment I realized the truth. I was no longer fighting to be free. I was fighting to survive within the cage I had chosen. That night he held me as if letting go would kill him. And maybe it would, but the twist came the next morning. When I woke, Raphael was gone. On the nightstand, a single envelope waited. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written in his hand. Ilara, you were right. Love shouldn't be a prison. But I don't know how to love without chains. I don't know how to keep you without breaking you. And if I keep you, I'll destroy the very thing I can't live without, so I'm leaving. For you, for us, don't find me. Don't wait for me. Live, always yours, R. I couldn't breathe. My chest ached as if someone had ripped out my heart with bare hands. After everything, the jealousy, the obsession, the battles, we had finally reached the moment I thought I wanted, and it felt like dying. For days I searched for him despite his words. Called, messaged, begged for a sign. But Raphael was gone. His apartment empty. His number disconnected. His shadow erased from the city that once belonged to him. All that was left were memories, scars, and the fire he had lit inside me. And here is the final twist. Even in his absence, I wasn't free, because obsession doesn't vanish when the person does. It lingers in your veins, a poison and a cure, a haunting you can't silence. I missed him with a desperation that frightened me. I hated him for leaving, loved him for trying, craved him for everything he was and everything he ruined. People said I would heal. That one day I'd move on, but they didn't know Raphael. They didn't know me. We weren't a story of healing. We were a story of fire, and some fires never die. Like, share, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Every word matters more than you know.